Hey, this is Bailey.
And I'm Timothy.
And welcome to What Sleep Podcast.
Let's get right into it.
Woo.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about the Cleveland torso murderer, also known as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run.
Oh, I haven't heard of this one, actually.
Yeah,
Which is a surprise.
It's really messed up, honestly. So, to give a little backstory, the Cleveland torso murderer was an unidentified serial killer who was active in Cleveland, Ohio in the 1930s.
Why do you keep doing these unsolved ones?
Because they're interesting and really fun to do.
No, they're not.
Well, the results aren't fun, but the research is.
Okay.
So, the killings were characterized by the dismemberment of 12 known victims and the disposal of their remains in the impoverished neighborhood of Kingsbury Run.
Just in the neighborhood?
Yeah, just
like
around.
Where?
Just around.
Like on the ground?
Yeah.
You didn't try to hide them or anything?
Nope, they would just be torso.
Oh.
And decapitated heads. Most victims came from an area east of Kingsbury Run called the Roaring Third, known for its bars, gambling dens, and brothels. Another name for this area was Hobo Jungle, as it was home to many vagrants. Nut. Despite an investigation of the murders, which at one time was led by famed lawman Elliot Ness, then Cleveland's public safety director, the murderer was never apprehended.
Wow.
No?
I'm angry.
No, yeah. The official number of murders attributed to the Cleveland torso murderer is 12, although recent research has shown that there could be as many as 20.
Dang.
So he was a busy boy.
Yeah.
The 12 known victims...
12 is an excessive number.
Yeah, that's just a lot. How do you get away with 12, though?
I don't know.
Especially when you're just literally leaving out evidence for everybody.
Exactly.
It's a little discombobulating.
This was all in one neighborhood, right?
Most of the time, it was kind of just left around in the neighborhood.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The 12 known victims were killed between 1935 and 1938. Some investigators, including lead Cleveland detective Peter Marilow, believe that there may have been 13 or more victims in the Cleveland, Youngstown, and Pittsburgh areas between the 1920s and 1950s. So, estimated to be even more.
Dang.
Two strong candidates for addition to the initial list of those killed are the unknown victim nicknamed the, quote, Lady of the Lake, found on September 5th, 1934, and Robert Robertson, found on July 22nd, 1950.
Dang. Who's the Lady of the Lake? I feel like that's familiar.
We'll get there.
Okay.
The victims of the torso murder were usually drifters whose identities were never determined, although there were a few exceptions. Victims number 2, 3, and 8 were identified as, in order, Edward Andrassy, Florence Polillo, and possibly Rose Wallace, respectively. So not quite sure on the 8th one, but that's the best they could get.
Okay.
The victims appeared to be lower class individuals, easy prey in Depression-era Cleveland. Many were known as, quote, hard-working poor who had nowhere else to live but the ramshackle Depression-era shanty towns or Hoovervilles in the area known as the Cleveland Flats.
Yeah.
So, not very fun. The torso murderer always beheaded and often dismembered his or her victims, occasionally severing the victim's torso in half or severing their appendages.
That's very excessive.
Yeah.
Was it cleanly done or was it kind of spur of the moment? Chop them up.
Judging from the pictures I've seen, it looks pretty uniform almost. Kind of, very cleanly done.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do they think
it doesn't look like a hatchet job.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he was just hacking at him.
Okay.
He definitely had, time to sit there and do it.
Interesting.
In many cases, the cause of death was the decapitation or dismemberment itself, which, of course.
They were alive during that?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Nope. It's pretty disgusting, honestly.
No, it's a horrible way to go.
Yeah, I don't even want to imagine that.
I would think that hopefully shock would take over, bare minimum.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how shock actually works, to be honest. Like, I don't know, like, how quickly it happens or.
I mean, I think it can happen pretty fast. Like extreme trauma, your brain tries to like shut it down, basically.
Oh, I
Like
mean,
whatever
yeah.
pain is
It's
there,
like, oh, this is not fun. Let me just.
This is going to traumatize your body, so we're just gonna shut it down. And
Yeah.
maybe you'll forget.
Another thing is most of the male victims were castrated as well.
That's it.
So
No.
this
That
person.
seems very personal and very
Yeah, he
like
just
he's
seemed
got a
to.
problem.
Like, they just hate the people for whatever reason. Some victims showed evidence of chemical treatment being applied to their bodies. Many of the victims were found after a considerable period of time following their deaths, occasionally in excess of a year. So a lot
What
of
kind of
them.
chemical treatment?
I
Like a
like a.
preservation?
That's what my guess is. I couldn't really find anything specifically talking about it, but to me, it's probably him or her trying to like just preserve the body parts. I guess.
Okay.
I guess so they can just be like, all right, I feel like tossing this one today or something. I don't know. It's pretty messed up.
Yeah. I'm trying to rationalize it in my head.
And especially if like, many of the victims were found after like a year.
Yeah.
So
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In an era when forensic science was largely in infancy, these factors further complicated identification, especially since the heads were often undiscovered.
That's sad.
Yeah, I do actually have pictures of a lot of them,
Oh.
so it's kind of really messed up.
That's really gory.
I don't know if you want to see that.
I'm all right.
During the time of the, quote, official murders, Elliot Ness held the position of Public Safety Director of Cleveland, a position with authority over the police department and ancillary services, including the fire department. While Ness had little to do with the investigation, his posthumous reputation as leader of the, quote, untouchables has made him an irresistible character in modern, quote, torso murder lore. Ness did contribute to the arrest and interrogation of one of the prime suspects, Dr. Francis E. Sweeney, so a doctor.
Yeah.
In addition, he personally conducted raids into hobo shanties and eventually burned down the Kingsbury Run from which the killer took his or her victims. So
Wait, who burned it down?
The guy.
The doctor or the detective? Or yeah.
Like the detective.
Why did he burn it down?
I don't know. I guess just going crazy trying to like do this person.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean,
if
it was kind of like a very personal fight because literally the person doing the murders taunted him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like right here. At one point in time, the killer taunted Ness by placing the remains of two victims in full view of his office in City Hall.
Nobody saw this man walking around with body parts or placing them. Are you kidding me?
Apparently not.
I don't understand how some people boldly get away with things like this.
I know, it's crazy.
It's insane.
Right here, I got some victims, like some information on some victims who were able to be identified. Again, I don't know if you want to see some of the pictures of them. So one victim found at Morgan Run near East 55th Street, Cleveland, was estimated to be 20 to 23 years old, light complexion, reddish brown hair, chestnut colored eyes, and stood 5 foot 10 inches or about 11 inches tall. Slender build, weighed about 165 pounds. He had 6 unusual tattoos on his body, a bird and band, and the names of Helen and Paul on the inner side of his left forearm, a heart anchor in red and blue on the outer side of his right forearm, a flag in the initials WCG on the inner side of his right forearm, a butterfly on his left shoulder, the head of the comic character Jiggs on his left ankle, and the word Cupid on his right ankle. His undershorts bore a laundry mark indicating the owner's initials were JD, despite morgue and death mask inspections by thousands of Cleveland citizens in the summer of 1936. At the Great Lakes Exposition, the victim known as the, quote, tattooed man was never identified.
What? That's so many identifiable factors.
He was never identified by people.
He was only, what, 23?
Estimated to be 20 to 23.
That's so young.
Yeah.
Nobody knew this guy.
No one came forward saying they, recognize this person.
So what if it was somebody that was personal to him that killed him?
Maybe it was. Who knows?
A cover-up. I just can't get my head around that. Nobody was like, yeah, okay, I know that guy. Like,
I mean, he had
he
like
was
a
so
bunch
young.
of,
He had a bunch
names
of
of
tattoos.
people
Yeah,
and, like
names.
initials. So clearly he had,
He had
connections
a
with
nickname.
people.
Yeah.
So another thing too is, the initials on the undergarments.
JD.
JD.
Yeah.
And still no one was able to identify them.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of sad, honestly.
I feel like there was a cover up there.
You think so?
I think so, because I don't feel like he would have been unidentified if it wasn't somebody that, I'm confusing myself now. I feel like he would have been identified if the family knew nothing about his death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they were trying to cover up for like his brother, like if he had a brother, like, okay, well, you killed him, but we've already lost one son. We're not going to lose you two. Like, we're not going to go and claim his body.
Another possibility too is that it could just be from someone not even in that area.
Sure, but
maybe it was like someone visiting the city or something, and
I guess
just never came back. Maybe. The next victim we'll talk about was believed to be a 40-year-old man. Clothing was muddied and piled up next to the head, 10 feet from the nude body in an isolated East Side woodland section.
Okay.
There were bloodstains on the coat and blue polo shirt, part of the clothing found with the head. Coroner A.J. Pierce said that the preliminary investigation disclosed that there was some doubt that the man was murdered. Not a single clue was found with the body other than the clothing. So my thing is clearly he was decapitated.
Yeah.
So how is it that there's doubt that he was murdered?
Wait, who said there was doubt?
The coroner. Coroner A.J. Pierce. He said that there was doubt that the man was murdered.
Was there any circumstance where he might have decapitated himself?
Oh, he was just found out in the middle of woodland section.
Unlikely, but an officer, or I'm sorry, detective, wouldn't make that statement if there wasn't like some reasonable doubt. I don't know.
I think the main thing is just because they didn't find a single clue with the body other than the blood on the clothing, which, if you get decapitated, there's going to be blood.
Yeah.
So it's a little hit or miss there.
Yeah, that's weird.
The next victim we'll talk about was a woman by the name of Rose Wallace, possibly. Dental work was considered a close match by police and her son, who said he was certain that the victim was his mother.
Okay.
Exact identification could not be achieved because the dentist who carried out the work had died years before.
Ah, okay.
Doubts remained because the body was estimated to have been dead for a year, whereas Wallace had only been missing for 10 months. So it's believed that it's her. And I mean, I think her son would know, but then again, the body was dead for about a year. So I mean, I'm assuming
she was only missing for 10 months.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could have been her. Yeah, because I mean, decomposition like really alters your body, obviously. Like you're literally.
Yeah, but the thing is like it never mentions decomposition though.
But
then
the body had been dead for a year.
The gel though, or like the like chemical solution that he was putting on the person people.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Maybe
he was preserving them.
That's probably what it was. It was just like something to preserve the bodies. Maybe, I don't know. It's a guess. It is an unsolved murder. So
that's why I don't like these, because there's so much speculation.
But that's the best part, is speculating.
No, I don't like being confused. I like answers.
Well, maybe we'll find some in here because there are some possible suspects.
All right.
The next, known victim is going to be Edward Andrasey, and who was buried in St. Mary's Cemetery, Cleveland, Ohio. Florence Polillo is buried in Pennsylvania. 5 of the John/Jane Does, Lady of the Lake, and victims John Doe number 1, John Doe number 2, John Doe number 4, and Jane Doe number 1 were buried in Pottersfield section of Highland Park Cemetery.
Altogether.
I'd hate to be put in a list like that, just John Doe number 1, John Doe number 2.
Yeah, but I mean, what else can you do? At least they have like some form of identification. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's just messed up.
It's morbid, yeah.
So now we'll go on to some possible victims. It's not, guaranteed known that the torso killer did it, but it's believed to be. Several non-canonical victims are commonly discussed in connection with the torso murderer. The first was nicknamed the, quote, Lady of the Lake, was found near Euclid Beach on the Lake Erie shore on September 5th, 1934, at virtually the same spot as canonical victim number 7. Some researchers of the Torso murderers victims count the Lady of the Lake as victim number 1 or victim 0.
It makes sense, yeah.
So that's why she's known as the Lady of the Lake, is because she was kind of appeared to have like washed up out of the lake.
Okay.
And when she wasn't identified, so she was known as the Lady of the Lake.
I think I'm remembering a different case.
I mean, it's possible. I'm pretty sure that's.
I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of ladies in lakes, but
oh yeah,
yeah. I just thought
it also sounds like
a
a ghost story type of thing too.
I feel like it's a movie, but whatever.
That's also another thing. The next one was a headless body of an unidentified male was found in a boxcar in Newcastle, Pennsylvania on July 1st, 1936. 3 more headless victims were found in boxcars near McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania on May 3rd, 1940. All bore similar injuries to those inflicted by the Cleveland killer. Dismembered bodies were also found in the swamps near Newcastle between the years 1921 and 1934.
Them?
I don't know.
I
think
it's so personal. It's aggressive.
Yeah, but and here's the thing. Here's what makes me think that it's a woman.
Why?
Because some of the murders and like decapitations took place between 1939 and 1942, which is when World War II was happening.
Sure.
So I believe that around that time, most men were getting drafted or volunteering or whatever.
Okay. I mean, that doesn't mean that men still weren't home.
I know. I'm not saying that.
Right.
Not that, but.
I'm gonna need more convincing womanly evidence.
Statistics show.
I mean, statistics, sure, but
I'm just saying that's a theory of mine.
Statistics also say that men are more likely to be serial killers. So if anything, it evens it out.
I mean, yeah, but I guess you got me on that one. Whatever, I'll let it slide. In September 1940, an article in the Newcastle News refers to the killer as the, quote, the murder swamp killer.
That's lame.
It is really lame. The almost identical similarities between the victims in Newcastle to those in Cleveland, Ohio, coupled with the similarities between Newcastle's murder swamp and Cleveland's Kingsbury Run, both of which were directly connected by a Baltimore and Ohio railroad line.
Oh.
So literally the 2 cities where all these murders were taking place were connected by the railroad.
So probably the same guy.
More than likely.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds of the same murder?
Yeah, like the same exact thing,
yeah.
and whether they're connected like that. But
interesting.
It is still circumstantial, but, and as we've seen with other cases, circumstantial evidence is the bane of all casework.
It's fair. It's fair. It's very frustrating, but it's fair. You can't arrest somebody that happens to have the same shoe size as the murderer. It means nothing.
Well,
no, you can't.
It was enough to convince, a Cleveland detective by the name of Peter Marilow that the Newcastle murders were the work of the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, also known as the Torso murderer.
Right.
Marilow was convinced the connection was the railroad that ran twice a day between the 2 cities. He often rode the rails undercover looking for clues to the killer's identity.
Spicy
meatball. On July 22nd, 1950, the body of 41-year-old Robert Robertson, such a redundant name, was found at a business.
Show some respect.
The body of 41-year-old Robert Robertson was found at a business at 2138 Davenport Avenue in Cleveland. Police believed he had been dead 6 to 8 weeks and appeared to have been intentionally decapitated.
Dang.
His death appeared to fit the profile of other victims. He was estranged from his family, had an arrest record and a drinking problem, and was on the fringes of society. Despite widespread newspaper coverage linking the murderer to the crimes in the 1930s, detectives investigating Robertson's death treated it as an isolated crime.
What? Okay.
So the people handling the case were just like, I think it's isolated.
I don't think so. How many times does a body get decapitated?
Exactly. Let alone in the same area where it's known that other people have been decapitated.
What do you mean?
Whatever. This is what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
In 1939, the Torso killer claimed to have killed a victim in Los Angeles, California. An investigation, though, uncovered just animal bones.
Oh,
nothing crazy. Now, we'll get on to some suspects.
Let's do it.
On August 24th, 1939, a Cleveland resident named Frank Dolezal I'm bad with last names, man.
Dolezal.
Dolezal, 52. I'm sorry for butchering that name. Was arrested as a suspect in Florence Polillo's murder. He later died in suspicious circumstances in the Cuyahoga County Jail. Ugh. Why y'all gotta have things named so weirdly?
Cayuga County.
Cayuga?
So.
Cuyahoga? Anyways, he died in suspicious circumstances in jail.
Right.
Most investigators...
Wait, was that never... Anyway, continue.
What?
Sorry, nothing.
Okay. Most investigators considered the last canonical murder to have been in 1938.
Okay.
One suspected individual was Dr. Francis E. Sweeney, who we talked about earlier. He was born May 5th, 1894, and Sweeney was a veteran of World War I who was part of a medical unit that conducted amputations in the field.
All right.
Sweeney was later personally interviewed by Elliot Ness, who oversaw the official investigation into the killings in his capacity as Cleveland's safety director. During this interrogation, Sweeney is said to have, quote, failed to pass two very early polygraph machine tests.
But
polygraph is such like a hit or miss thing.
No, it's very miss.
Very miss, yeah.
You can twitch.
Which I think even
from
like
an itch.
I think nowadays like polygraph doesn't even hold up in court, right?
I think it's up to the judge. I'm pretty positive. Like polygraphs are done with like, you know, those clippy things that like hospitals put on your finger. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
The
oxidizer, where it measures the oxygen blood levels.
Yes.
Anyway.
Anyway, so they clip stuff like that to your fingers. I think both of your first two fingers, and it tests like any movement, any rise in blood pressure and heart rate or anything like that. And they just do it like straight to a computer. And it's dumb. If you hear something that's going to upset you, there's going to be a reaction to it. Yeah. Like, I don't want to see the decapitated bodies. I would fail a polygraph test if somebody showed me that. I'd be like,
have beaten the polygraph test anyway.
Exactly.
So.
There's a ways around it. I don't trust them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But both the tests both of the polygraph tests were administered by polygraph expert Leonard Keeler, who told Ness he had his man.
Okay.
Ness apparently felt there was little chance of obtaining a successful prosecution of the doctor, especially as he was the first cousin of one of Ness's political opponents,
Ooh.
Congressman Martin L. Sweeney, who had hounded Ness publicly about his failure to catch the killer. After Sweeney committed himself, there were no more leads or connections that police could assign to him as a possible suspect. From his hospital confinement, Sweeney sent threatening postcards and harassed Ness and his family into the 1950s.
All right, that's a little rude.
Sweeney died in a veterans hospital in Dayton on July 9th, 1964. Now, remember how I said earlier that the torso murderer was publicly kind of taunting Ness?
Yeah. I mean,
now,
yeah,
the doctor is also harassing Ness.
I mean, he's harassing Ness because, I mean, again, circumstantially, like,
it is,
Ness did try to pin some really aggressive murders on him. You know?
But
and who's to say he didn't, use shady tactics to...
Very true, very true.
I don't know. If I was not a murderer and this guy was dead set on pinning me up for it, I'd also harass him. Not his family, but, I'd send him like poop or something, like to his door. That's a thing that you can do.
Poop in a bag and then light it on fire.
Well, no, you can order it. There's a website.
Oh yeah, I see that. You can pick like an animal or something too,
and just send people poop to their door with like there's like a note that you can put in like inside the poop.
Inside of it.
If they want to read what the note says, most of the time it's like if you want to find out who sent you this, you're gonna have to dig for the name or something.
Oh,
and then once they pull out the name, it says "LOL, we'll never tell" or something.
Oh, that's amazing! I gotta find that.
That's what I would do. I would not harass a family. I'd be petty about it.
That's pretty petty.
It is very petty. I am a very petty person.
Please don't ever do that to me. In 1997, another theory postulated that there may have been no single butcher of Kingsbury Run because the murders could have been committed by different people. This is based on the assumption that the autopsy results were inconclusive. First, Cuyahoga County Coroner Arthur J. Pierce may have been inconsistent in his analysis as to whether the cuts on the bodies were expert or slapdash. Second, his successor, Samuel Gerber, who began to enjoy the press attention from his involvement in such cases as the Sam Shepard murder trial, garnered a reputation for sensational theories. Therefore, the only thing known for certain was that all the murder victims were dismembered.
I don't know. I
So
feel
because
like I don't think it's a multiple person. I mean, there could have been two people working together, but I don't think they're separate occasions.
yeah, but I just think it's funny that the first coroner was just super inconsistent in his work, and the other one just got a huge ego for being in the
Yeah.
paper,
That's
and like completely
corruption for
just
you.
eliminated any evidence
Yeah.
because of that.
That's
Stupid.
corruption for you.
Now, there are some pop culture things based around these murders.
Okay.
The first being in 1998 to 1999, there was a comic book series Torso by
Oh.
Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Andrecko. And that was based on all the killings.
Yeah.
In 2018, there was a film known as The Kingsbury Run that was also based on the murders, which I want to watch that.
I feel like I heard of that, but I didn't watch it.
But I feel like I saw it on
Interesting.
Netflix at one point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I've heard of it
I'll have to check
at some point.
I'll have to check it. The murders and the hunt for the perpetrators were covered in an episode of Unsolved Mysteries,
Yep.
which just released season 2.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah. Elliot Ness and the Mad Butcher, hunting America's deadliest unidentified serial killer at the dawn of modern criminology.
Wow. What
By
a
Max
name.
Allen Collins and A. Brad Schwartz, was published on August 4th, 2020.
Oh, it was recent.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I heard about that book, and that's kind of what made me get into
What a
wanting to do
name.
this. So, and that right there is really the Torso murder. Unidentified, a lot of very poor handling of evidence and bad police work.
As
Let this
per
person
usual.
go free from killing possibly 20 people.
Yeah.
So
That's insane. I just can't believe he was never seen carrying around bodies and
that's my thing. How are you going to go up to like a police investigation
Yeah.
department,
Yeah.
drop 2 bodies in front of a window, and not get seen by anybody?
I just don't understand. That's
But
crazy.
then again,
to
I guess
me.
that kind of like, how does someone dispose of like Black Dahlia?
I
Just,
don't
like,
understand
on the
that
side of the
either.
road.
But this is like 20 people, and he never got caught doing this stuff.
Yeah, so-
That's crazy.
But another little short episode for this Halloween Spook Fest. I thought this one was kind of creepy just because it was never solved.
Decapitation.
And lots of decapitation and dismemberment. Really gross
Pretty
stuff.
rough.
Well, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. Sorry for the little short ones, but promise you we'll get into the longer ones soon. Trying to do things that most people have not covered already,
Yeah.
just to kind of.
There's a lot of media out there.
Yeah, a lot of different people out there. But yeah, if you did like this episode, please leave a like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. You can find our podcast. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and really anywhere you find your podcast. We also have a website where you can find all of the places we are available, as well as just listen directly on there. You can find that at whatsleeppodcast.buzzsprout.com. We do have a Patreon now. You can find us on Patreon at What Sleep Podcast. Yes. And if you subscribe on there, you do get a 15% off code for use on all of our merch now and forever. Every month you are subscribed. And you
Yeah,
can
maybe.
find our merch on Etsy. We do plan on creating our own storefront at some point. It just
Yeah.
costs money to maintain.
Woo.
So
Gotta get that Patreon going.
Exactly. But you can find our merch on a shop, 89 & Co. LLC. It's
Yeah.
by our good friend Sarah. She's the one that
Yeah.
handles all of that. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in any t-shirts or anything like that.
And the merchandising and the Patreon, they both would really help us, be able to afford the high quality of our
Yeah, right now we're kind of working
Editing
on
and-
getting a second microphone.
100% the second microphone is what we're saving up for at the moment. But
Yeah. So we appreciate any sort of support you guys may have.
any support that you guys give us.
Yeah. And if you want to stay up to date on any new episodes or any sort of, behind the scenes or extras, be sure to follow us on Twitter at What Sleep Pod. You can find us also on Instagram and Facebook at What Sleep Podcast. So be sure to check us out on there and give us a follow.
Woo.
And we do also want to hear any sort of comments or theories you guys may have. So be sure to send us messages on there or comment on anything. And with that, we'll go ahead and end this episode here.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.